But welcome to the WACUBO speaker training. We're super excited that you were able to join this session. So today I'm just going to be kind of going over all things having to do with our event platform, which is Pathable. So you've probably heard a lot about it. And so we're going to kind of do a quick training where we just go in depth and kind of walk you through all of the different pieces. So at this point in time, you should have received an invite to your profile, and if not, it will be coming this week since we've launched the platform. That will give you all of the login information that you will need, and it will take you directly to your profile where you can edit your information. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll just kind of go walk through this platform. So everyone should be able to see this screen now, right? That says WACUBO 2021 Virtual Annual Conference. So when you first get your account, you're going to go straight up to your edit profile. So when you log in, you'll be able to edit your profile. And this profile allows you to do a bunch of different things. So you can add a profile photo here. You can add your email address, and you can change your password. You can also update your name and any of the credentials that you have. You can list your title, a phone number, company description, any fields of interest that you might have, and kind of save it along that way. Any of the additional information added, oh gosh, looks like I might be in the wrong area for this, but you should be able to add a phone number and an address, and that's just going to be kind of on the internal side.
Okay, we took the phone number and the address off.
Oh, right.
Because we didn't need those to be out there. So really what you guys see is what you can add.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Megan. So title, company, description, field of interest, constituency groups, and all of those details. So once you get your profile, you can go ahead and join it and add all of those different areas to your profile as you like. You can also go ahead and update your preferences. We recommend not clicking this button here, which says notifications, do not send to any emails. We're going to be sending a lot of notifications to you. So make sure that you keep that unclicked, but you could hide your profile from other attendees if you wanted. Again, not recommended, but there are some settings there. Once you update your profile, when you've logged on and you got your photo and you feel good about it, you'll want to go ahead and go to your schedule. So this top menu bar up here is going to be kind of how you're going to drive your access through this event. So first area is you're going to click the schedule, and then you're going to click on that drop down which says agenda. Once you click this drop down, you're going to see every session that we have for the virtual conference. So we've got the agenda in a couple different ways. One is just going to be kind of this overarching view here, and it is a little, it's got a lot of information, so I've got a slight delay. But you can see all of the different concurrent sessions here, and they're listed in this version in chronological order. Monday, if you click to Tuesday, it'll show you all of the Tuesday sessions, and then all the way through Wednesday as well. You can also view this in the calendar view, which is just going to be this button up here. It kind of depends on if you're more of a list person or if you're a visual person and you want to see the overall schedule. But those are two different options for you to view the agenda. So from there, we can find a session. Since Howard, you're on here, I'll click your first session just to kind of give an example. So all of the information that you have submitted into the office has gone into these session pages. So for example, we've got Cultivating Bold Collaboration in Uncertain Times by Howard Tybell. So you can see all of the information that is listed here. We've got a nice summary of the session, all of your learning objectives that I've been asking for you guys to submit goes in here. So we give all of our attendees information about your session. So you'll also see this countdown of how many days until we actually are live for the event, which is exciting. Once we've launched this platform for our attendees, they can actually start chatting. Right now, you can see that there are no messages, but as we launch the platform, people can actually start to have a dialogue here. So we are encouraging all of our speakers to go back and find your session pages to kind of check in if there's any dialogue, if any of the attendees have started to ask questions about your session. We're really trying to kind of encourage folks to use this to get some buzz before the start of the conference. So once you see this countdown here, we've got a couple other things. So we've got that chat button, and I'll continue to repeat this throughout the training, but both chat and poll features are going to be solely on the Pathable platform. So we're encouraging that you use this platform for any sort of engagement with attendees that way. The chat that you typically have on Zoom is going to be reserved for anything having to do with session hosts, speaker-to-speaker communication, or the WACUBO office as well. So I'll continue to repeat that all polls and Q&A is going to be done on Pathable. So there are two types.
Excuse me, Kate, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Anthea. I'm with the University of Denver. So I just want to be clear. So Pathables is taking the place of Zoom, right? So when we log in to present, we log in here instead of Zoom as an example. Is that right? Or am I missing the interface?
You're half right, I would say. So Pathable is where the event platform is going to live. We're still utilizing Zoom as the video interface. So as I go through, I'll explain how you're going to actually join the meeting through Pathable, but it will join you out into a Zoom session like this. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's just what I hear you saying is it's parallel.
Yeah.
While you're presenting in Zoom, instead of engaging, now I hear what you're saying is instead of engaging the participants using the Zoom chat, you're engaging them using the Pathables. So it's like, you almost need to have like two screens going on so you can have your, right?
You stole that out of my mouth. Yes, that's later.
Okay. I
have some examples of that a little bit later, but we have seen that the dual screen works the best so that you'd have your Zoom on one half of your screen and then the Pathable platform on the other to kind of bridge that two together.
Okay.
Perfect. So there are two types of polls that you can utilize, and I'll do a sample here. So I'll ask a question. We'll go ahead and ask that question. And I'll talk about the gamification in a little bit, but so you can ask a question in that poll feature, and then it's going to be listed here. So you see that poll results. This will just show up on your page. And then if you see this little thumb arrow, it means that this can be upvoted by people who are viewing your session. So again, really encouraging some additional dialogue, and you can upvote that to bring it up as a question that wants to be asked to the group. If another attendee likes that question, they're gonna just go ahead and click on that thumbs up. So you'll enter your polls here, and I have another area where I'll show you how you can actually enter your polls as well. But this is how you'll utilize this for the CPE as well, since you do need some of those areas of engagement for your courses. Files is going to be an area where people can access any of your supporting documents that you might want to include. So any videos, PowerPoint, additional handout materials, those will live here on your session. And then people is your other little tab here that just shows who has selected to come to your event right now. And folks can add or remove your session from their personal schedule, but they don't need to have your session on their schedule in order to attend, but it is a nice way for you to see who's interested in your session in advance. So for the day of, you'll go to your session. And then you're going to click on this manage button. You only have this manage button for the sessions that you're going to be speaking on. So if we click this manage button, it's going to kind of bring you to the back end of the speaker portal. So this is going to be open 20 minutes prior to your start session time, which if you've reviewed that prep deck, you saw notes about the green room. This is where it's going to be. So again, kind of that high level, 20 minutes before the start time, we're asking you to log into your session so you can join what we're calling the green room. And this is going to be where you can join essentially ahead of time to make sure that you're set with your session host, and you'll have a WACUBO office member on the line there as well, just to make sure that you're good to go. So during that 20 minutes of time, we really recommend that this is like the full dry run. So do an audio check, do a video check. If you have any embedded videos in your PowerPoints, you want to make sure that your sound is working. Check your screen share. This is just really that amount of time that gives you the confidence that your tech is going to be working well through the session. 1 minute prior to the start time, as we can see here, you're going to have attendees who are going to be able to join your session. So in that 1 minute period of time, the WACUBO office is going to be sharing some looping slides that might be thanking our business partners or encouraging other attendees or other areas of engagement during the virtual conference. So we'll have that looping slide deck for that minute. And then at that point, the office is going to stop our screen share and we'll go ahead and spotlight your session host and you'll be introduced. And then once you're officially introduced, it's your time to shine and really take it away by screen share, etc. And I'll talk a little bit more about session hosts as we go down, but essentially you're going to have a volunteer partnered with you to make sure that you feel comfortable through the session. They'll assist with any sort of introductions, Q&A, and just, making sure that things are running smoothly. The WACUBO office is going to be more of your tech support. So if there are any issues on the tech side, that's when we'll really step out to assist. So once you do your session, we are recommending that you leave some time for Q&A, and that would be up to you and your session host to kind of determine in that 20 minutes prior how you want that to look. Also, there are those engagement activities that we need to do for CPE, and they're asking for 5 areas of engagement. Megan, if you're there, do you know if we've gotten an update on that?
No, we have not. We're still waiting to hear back from NASBA.
Okay, perfect. So that's what I was going to say too, is we're working with NASBA to see what it looks like. We're thinking that polls are going to be the best sort of engagement. So if you can throw 5 of those in there, that's ideal. If you're using Zoom meetings, you can use whiteboard, breakouts, and things like that. But it's just some sort of level of engagement that we can say that we did to make sure that people were focused in on your session. That's my shameless plug here too. If you haven't told the office whether you want to use a Zoom meeting or a Zoom webinar for any of our conference concurrent session speakers, please try to get that to the WACUBO office as quick as you can, because we are building the platform on the back end. Howard, is that a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, were you done? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I think I was done. Yeah, just make sure you let us know whether you want to use the webinar or the meeting, because we have to get that set up in advance.
So let's talk about breakouts for a second. So if we do a Zoom meeting versus a Zoom webinar, when people arrive in, will we see their faces or will we just see their names?
So for the Zoom meetings, they would in theory have their cameras available.
Good.
Yeah.
And we can control. So for example, if I had 20 people in there and I wanted to do a 5-minute breakout and break into groups of 5, this is something that I could orchestrate?
In theory, yes. Megan, are we doing the host?
Yeah, so you'll have an office. All right, put my video on. You'll have an office staff member that will be present in each of your sessions. And we ask that you kind of tell us like kind of your timeline for your event. So like we're going to 5-minute introductions, go into breakouts for 10 minutes, and then, 5 minute, whatever, kind of give us their timeline of what you're looking at and how many breakouts you want. And then the office will facilitate creating those breakout rooms and launching them and handling all the tech stuff.
Right. And then with respect to our PowerPoints, I got the WACUBO formatted slides to use. Are we able, so for example, I might change something on the day before. Can we use the PowerPoint that we have been working up to the end, or do we have to submit something and you have to upload it somewhere?
You can go ahead and use that PowerPoint. Like you can change it all the way up to that last minute.
Right.
We just ask that you give it to us at the end so that we have it later. But yeah, you can go ahead and change it all the way up.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Megan. So also going back to this manage section, this is still kind of the back end for you as a speaker. We're encouraging all of our speakers to really explore this and upload any of those files. So I talked about you being able to upload your presentation materials. This would be an area that you could do that. If you have any additional handouts, you'll add that new file and it'll show up on your session page that I showed on the front end. And you can upload video or any sort of additional materials. The polls section is where you're going to actually add your polls. And again, we're asking you to go in there and add those polls on your own to really get familiar with the platform. So I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like to add a new poll. So this is what it's going to look like. The friendly name is just going to be for your reference. So if you want to call it poll 1, poll 2, that's great, just for your reference. There are 2 types of questions. So they've got 3 types, I'm sorry. Multiple choice, free text entry, or a rate. So for multiple choice, you can have multiple responses to this question, otherwise the single response can be selected. For multiple choice, you have a couple different options for the results. So it can be in a pie chart or a horizontal bar graph. You can also change how you want your results to be displayed, whether it's a percentage or a count. And then you can also change your button label down here. So that means that you could say vote or answer now or submit your answer. Essentially, it's just the prompting for people to submit their poll. In the free text entry, you can list your question and then you can list your responses as either a list or a word cloud. So that's a little bit more of an engaging type of poll. Other important things, if only you want to see the results, click this little box right here. Otherwise, when you talk about the poll results, everyone will be able to see them. If it's something that you want to be able to read off the results, click that little box. And then there's also an option to set, essentially you hide the poll until the session starts. So if you do go into your session now and you input these polls, they'll be listed on that front session page that I had talked about or showed you earlier. If you want to hide the poll until the session starts, that means that it won't be available until your session starts, and you can really direct folks to go back to that platform to engage on your session that way. I think that's it about the polls. The rate option is just going to be, I've got a photo of it a little bit later, but it's essentially you just rate it 1 to 5 stars. And that's going to kind of be this whole piece here under your live meeting section. So it is important to note that as a speaker, all of your sessions are going to be automatically populated up under your agenda. So we talked about this main agenda where you find all of these main session pages. For anything that you are speaking on, it'll go under your My Agenda. under the schedule tab. And you can see here, there's this third option drop down for schedule a meeting. So this is actually where you can schedule a one-on-one meeting or multiple meetings with up to 20 people at a time. We really thought this was a great opportunity, you know, since we're not in person, this takes the place of being able to pull someone aside for a quick networking event or a private meeting where you want to kind of dive into more about details of the conference or sessions or things that you've heard or other speakers. So this is a great place for you to do that sort of engagement. So you would click that button for the schedule meeting, and you can add new members here as a participants, up to 20 people. So you just kind of click the new member, and then you can select anyone who's in the platform itself to join with this meeting. You choose the date and time and why, and then you'll create it, and then it'll show up on your personal agenda like this. So this is going to be a test meeting that was created. Really want to meet to go over your membership status. And this is what the meeting would look like. So it looks just like a session page. Other levels on this little menu bar. So we've got people options here. We've got this drop down here of meeting the speakers. And so you should be able to see all of those speakers that have been listed here. We're still getting some of those final headshots loaded up in here, but we've got all of the speakers and any sort of ribbons that go along with your speaking status. You can also view all of our attendees as well. And so we can list out attendees, and when they start going in and to add their profiles, you'll start to see their headshots pop up too. So that's kind of your hub for engagement with speakers and attendees. Business partners is going to be this next big tab up here. And this is essentially our exhibit hall. So you can see our top sponsors are listed up here. And then if you scroll down, you've got all of your exhibitors as well. So you can see all the things that they have added to their profile. And it looks just like a session page as well. So hopefully you're starting to see that it's similar. So it should be fairly easy to navigate. But you can see things that have been added to their profile.
Hey, Katie, sorry to interrupt, but I think Anthea has a question.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I had a question back when you were talking about the polls. Is there a way to preview the poll so we can see what it looks like before it posts? Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. So the thing with the polls is we can't really do a test run. So you'll have to go in and set up the polls on the back end. And the best way that I would recommend doing it is to just kind of, Megan, how did you say this last time? I'm sorry, because you recommended not doing a test run because either the polls are live or they're hidden. So
yeah, the best way to do it is once you get into your session page, go create the poll and don't click the hide this poll, showcase it. And that way you'll be able to see it and then see it on the front end to make sure it looks the way you want. And then if it does, then you can go back in and click hide this poll. So that's just the best way to test it. And you can add and delete as you go. We're launching the platform on May 3rd. So we will be giving, that's to everyone. So we'll be giving speakers access this week. So you will have a few days to log in and maybe test some things before it goes out to everybody next week.
Great question. Thank you. But it is important to note once the platform is live that any of those poll testing that you might do, someone might be able to see it if they're logged into the platform. So would recommend that you do it prior to make sure that you're set with that and then you've kind of had time to explore how the system works so that you feel comfortable launching those polls. And then you can always go back in and then hide the poll until your session starts.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, of course. All right, back to the business partners. I wanted to show one that had a few more things in here. Perfect. So we can see we've got business partners here, all the things that have been added to their profile. So they've got some of these additional handouts have been added here. They do have staff who are going to be staffing the event during the business partner hours. And so you can actually join a live meeting with them. You can see all of the different staff who are going to be at the booth. The conversation is again similar of just kind of driving that chat. You can see all of the files that have been loaded in. So this is kind of an idea of what your session page would look like if you've added those files. And then there aren't any polls listed, but you would manage your profile in the same way. I think we have a few business partners on here, so just wanted to point that out. So we've got all of the descriptions and everything listed in here, and then any of the polls that you could add following that same format is going to be listed here. Final piece, which I'm excited about, is this mountains of points. So this is what we're utilizing as gamification. So if you recall at the very start, when I went in and clicked the session page, it prompted me that I earned 5 points. So there are just things that are listed over here that are really trying to encourage you to just explore the platform, because we've got a lot of goodies in here. A lot of speakers have spent their time putting these sessions together, and our business partners have spent a lot of time building their booths and everything. So we just want to really drive some of the engagement. So you can see that we do have some tests up here. The leaderboard is going to show people who have had the most engagement. And so we just encourage you to take time to kind of take a look at that. We also have the service project listed up here with the service project that we're focusing on this year, which is Fairview Elementary School. Wanted to just call attention to that. So we've got information about the school here, and then how to donate, and some additional information listed there. The social wall is where we're encouraging people to, of course, promote on social media. So we're using the hashtag WACUBO 2021 on Twitter and LinkedIn. So you could go ahead and follow us on either of those, and then any sort of promotion that you want to do with that hashtag will start to show up here, and we'll be able to kind of track that sort of social engagement. We've also got the help desk listed here. So we have event FAQs, which are listed. Hopefully we've thought of all of the questions that you might ask. We've got a virtual venue how-to, additional information on how to access the venue, and how do you chat, etc. We have a CPE FAQ. If you are attending and you have questions for which sessions have qualified for CPE, you can find that there. We also have Zoom FAQs, which are listed here, very similar to what you received in your speaker prep deck as well. And then we also have contact the office in case you have any issues on the day of. This is one of the best ways to get in touch with the office for any sort of assistance. For conversations under public forum, we have asked the host committee to generate a couple general topics to start it off, but anyone can start the conversation. So anyone can put questions or comments in here. We're going to be keeping this platform open until December. For anyone who's not able to attend all the live sessions, all the recordings will be on here. Again, a reason why we're prompting everyone to be using the poll feature and the Q&A feature on the platform is because we want to make sure that people who are not able to attend the live session still can get that engagement with the polls and the chat and these conversations. So that's a good area to just continue to network as well. Any other questions about the platform at this moment in time? I've got a few other things to go over but hopefully that kind of helped with an overview.
Katie?
Yes.
Hi, this is Lori Cerner from Cal Poly. Just a couple things. If we are doing what WACUBO calls Tales from the Front and aren't offering CPE, it's not a requirement to set up polls and do those other details that you were discussing.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. And then I'm not sure if I missed it from the beginning, but is there a Pathable login that's coming to us at some point?
There is, yes. It's opening this week for speakers, so you'll get a direct email with access to join Pathable, and it'll prompt you to explore your profile and everything like that.
Perfect.
And while your session might not require some of those engagement, I would encourage polls or any sort of Q&A just to keep people interested in the session. And the virtual environment is unique that way.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't missing something if we only had one poll, for instance.
Oh yeah, nope, you are good.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. I also wanted to just call out, you can see this other page here, right? So we have created a conference presenters resources page that is linked to our conference website. And so it's kind of a one-stop hub for anything relating to presenters at the conference. So we've listed the speaker trainings, which you guys have attended. If you haven't notified the office of your Zoom meeting or webinar format, please do so now. It also lists an upcoming deadline of March 7th for your presentation materials to be sent to the WACUBO office. And we've included that prep deck again for easy access. And then we have the option to use the Zoom background. If you want to be branded for the event, you can download that background here. And then we also have the PowerPoint template as well. So this is kind of your one-stop shop for additional resources. We have other presenter resources, and then we do have a recording of the training that was done last week, in case you have any additional questions that come up.
Katie, is that on the Pathables or is that the WACUBO website?
This is on the WACUBO website.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Let's get to you guys can see this PowerPoint now, right? Perfect. All right. Just kind of wanted to go high level again over some of the additional features and kind of what it's going to look like on the day of. So like we talked about, when you go to your session page, you'll click onto your session and you'll see this little manage button. On the day of, once you click into that manage button, you're going to see this join meeting. So that means that you're going to click that button and then it'll pop you out like you did right now when you clicked the join the Zoom link. It'll pop you out and you'll have the Zoom third-party video streaming in addition to the Pathable platform. So we do recommend that you keep both the Zoom and Pathable up throughout the entirety of the event. Again, attendees are not being encouraged to chat in the Zoom, but definitely chatting through the Pathable platform. If it's possible, I think there's a photo a little bit later that will show you what it will look like with the dual screen for the monitor between the Zoom and your Pathable presentation. Here are the Zoom controls for meetings. I will say we've received a lot of presenters wanting to do the meetings versus the webinars, but I'll explain both of the controls just in case you'd like to do a webinar. So for the meetings, this is what your screen is, your menu bar is going to look like. So presenter screens will have your presentation and presenter controls. And again, really trying to hammer home that all chats, polls, and Q&A are done on the Pathable site. So when you're not speaking, if you're doing co-presentating, we're encouraging you to keep your mute button off. or on, I guess, and unmute yourself when you're going to be presenting. This is how you'll toggle your camera on and off as needed. The little share button down there is going to be your opportunity to share what you've got displayed on your monitor. We also have reactions down on the bottom right. And then you can see how many participants are going to be in your session as well. For the webinars, the controls look a little bit different. Webinars are definitely more one-way facing. So I would consider it more of fitting for a keynote where it's less interaction. Webinars doesn't allow for breakouts at all. So you would just be presenting to your screen. So there wouldn't be any other boxes of people like in Zoom meetings. You'd have everyone's camera on ideally and be able to have some engagement. Webinars is just very one way. So there's the difference between that. When you come into your session, this is super important to remember, but you'll come in as host 500. And this is because we're using Pathable Zoom licensing, which allows us to have so many people. Right now, we've got over 2,200 people who've registered for the event. So you could have lots of people in your session. So just to put that out there. But you will join that link when you join the meeting. You'll join as host 500. So the first thing that you'll want to do is to rename yourself. If you join with other presenters, you'll all be host 500 as well. So find the one that says me, and then under more, you can click in the drop down to rename yourself. So then go ahead and name yourself appropriately. And this will all be done in the green room. And the WACUBO office can make sure to prompt you as well. This is the split screen that I was talking about earlier. So if you're using just one monitor, this is how you can split your screen. If you're using multiple monitors, you can still split your screen and have your presentation materials over on your other screen. But we found that this works the best because you can chat with your attendees, see the polls, and then also have your Zoom session as well. Just some additional information on how to share your screen on Zoom meetings and webinars. You'll go ahead and click that little green share button and it'll pop you out to this little box. If you have multiple screens, it'll prompt you to share which screen. And then if you are sharing any audio, make sure that you check that little share box, share sound box. Otherwise, we won't be able to hear what you're presenting on your end. And then you'll just click the little share screen and you should be good to go with that. Wanted to go into some additional examples of some of the polls, just so you can kind of get a visual for that. So I had mentioned that there were the 3 different options of polls. So you've got your free text entry. This is often used as a Q&A, which is great. You can display the results as a list or the word cloud. And then the list display has the upvoted responses that you can see in this top right-hand corner. For the multiple choice, you have a couple options. You can color code your choices. You can do the pie chart, the horizontal bar graph, and then you can display results as a percentage or as a number count. And then the rating poll is just what I said earlier, between the 1 to 5 stars. So you can add that in as well. And then finally, just some additional tips and tricks. I wanted to kind of go over some lighting. Thankfully, the sun dropped a little bit with where I am in Seattle, but I'm always use myself as a terrible example. My desk is set up right in front of windows. So anytime that it gets into this mid-afternoon time frame, I turn into witness protection where I get backlit and you can't see my face. So highly recommend that you test run the location that you're going to be presenting in, and test during the time slot that you're going to be presenting in. Because if I tested where I was at this morning at 9 a.m., my lighting was fine. But since it's 3 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, lighting was different. So just make sure you're aware of where the sun is going to be during your presentation. And making sure, in a perfect world, we'd all have those ring lights that make us look perfect. But if you don't have that, that's okay. Just try and make sure that you get enough lighting that we don't see some shadows on your face or any of that backlit option. So the more lighting, the better. Also have some examples of what not to do with your camera angle. I can't say how many times, I'm sure we've all been on those meetings where people have their heads cut off or their cameras upwards. We don't want any of that. We want you to be perfectly in the center of your little rectangle. So one way that we've seen people do this successfully is sometimes your laptop needs to be lifted up a little bit. So you can stack it on some books to just get a better angle, but really focus on making sure that we can see your whole face in that little rectangle box. Also virtual backgrounds. So we can have a lot of fun backgrounds, but we really want you to shine. So that's why we encourage the WACUBO background. We'll really make sure that you're not distracting with any sort of additional movement in the background. So that official background will be really helpful if you do want to have that as well. And that's it. We just want to really thank you for your time and for your expertise in joining with us for this virtual conference. We're very excited. It's going to be a great program. And if you guys have any questions, now is the time to go ahead and share. And of course, you can have questions leading up to the to the event too. But if there are any outstanding questions that I didn't cover or something that you want me to go back to, feel free to let me know.
Katie, I am one of many speakers at a session. I'm a minor speaker. So how does that work? Is there one owner of this content or that controls it? What's the deal when there's lots of people?
I'm not sure I understand your question. So you have a lot of you have multiple people who are presenting.
Correct.
Have you connected with those speakers prior?
I was asked to be part of a session by a business partner.
Oh, okay.
And so I just want to know, do I work through one central person who manages the whole session, or does each of us do our own part separately? I'm just kind of curious what happens when you have multiple speakers in one session.
So as far if you have presentations, is each one sharing their own, or do you have a central person sharing the presentation?
And the polls, and if you want interactions, do we always do our own? Or will it work that way if you have one session but multiple speakers?
That's a great question. Megan, I'm not sure if you've had this experience before yet, but I would recommend that they try and collaborate on each different area, and you could add all of the polls into the same session. I would say that you would still have a session host even for business partners, or is that?
Yeah, they'll still have a session host for business partners. I would just work with your team on however you guys want to do it. You're all going to go in as green room speakers. So you're all going to come in early to that back end and be able to join the office before. And so you'll be able to kind of talk things out, but any of the speakers can add polls. You could all individually share your presentation if you want. What I have seen in past is that it looks better if you have one person sharing the screen. If there's like 5 people presenting, combining all the presentations into one PowerPoint and then sharing the screen going that way, and then individual speakers talk, it looks a little bit better than trying to stop share and then the next speaker shares their screen. So that's what I would recommend, kind of talking to all the people that you'll be working with to figure out what is best for you. Because I've also had it where individual speakers just do their own part. So I think connecting with the other people you're talking with and just making sure you guys are all on the same page.
Yeah, it sounds more like a panel, I would say, now that I heard you talk about it, Megan. Thank you. So with a panel, I would definitely recommend trying to at least connect over email prior to kind of get an idea of who's going to be the driver of the PowerPoint. And since I do think it does look a little bit smoother if you just have one person doing it, and then kind of getting a timeline of, presenter 1 is going to talk for 5 to 10 minutes. Presenter 2 is going to talk 5 to 10 minutes on these slides, and kind of go down that way. But again, you do have that green room, that 20 minutes prior, but I wouldn't recommend that that's your first meeting of how you're going to be presenting your session. So if there's an opportunity to connect prior for anyone who's doing multiple presenters, because we do have a couple different panel sessions, that's definitely what I would do, is try to make some time. Does that help answer your question?
It does. I was really asking more about the technology and whether or
Oh,
not
yeah.
we would, so it sounds like your advice is having one primary presenter. That person would post the file, and that person will be running the file, and that person will be running the interactions.
Definitely. And just to reiterate though, even if you have 5 presenters, each one of you will have your profile where you're able to go into that manage button and add your polls. So you could add your polls specific for your section. So you can kind of split the work up that way, but having one primary driver for the presentation is definitely best practice. But you can all go in and add additional handout materials into that file section, or you could go and add your polls specifically for your piece of that session as well. Or if you have a volunteer who wants to do it for all 5 of you in your presentation, that works too. But just know that all of you have the capability to go in and add and remove things from your sessions. Great question. Any other questions? That's pretty good then.
Fine, I'll ask a question, Katie.
Okay.
If between now and then we're going through and we're doing this stuff and loading it, do we reach out to you? Do we reach out to Megan if we have questions?
Yeah, you can reach out to just the main WACUBO office email, and I'll snag that email to address any of your questions. So I'm definitely point person for presenters. So now that there's a face to the name, you guys can feel free to just, hey, Katie, got this question. I'm more than happy to help.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll try and be respectful of time, but thank you. We're very excited, like I said, appreciate your time. I'll go ahead and stop the recording now.